All right, another beautiful time on television, and many thanks for joining us again on our program, Africa Discourse on Independent Television. My name is Evan Sunokugie. Today, we may just follow what we did last week, Monday, talking about looking at the issue of insecurity on the continent of Africa. Well, you saw where we talked about what good government, what good leadership is, and we were trying to look at the Ibrahim Traore model in Burkina Faso. And also, I also told you on this program that in as much as we try to kind of examine the military junta's model in Burkina Faso, we are also not trying to encourage a military to take over in Africa. No, that's not what we're doing. But we're just trying to see what that young man is doing in Burkina Faso, most especially as it relates to the way he has recently wrestled some Boko Haram, insurgents and, Islamist movements in Burkina Faso. So we're trying to look at all that as the program went last week Monday. So today on the show, we are going to be looking at Africa's insecurity, trajectory, if you like, and the surge of insecurity in Africa. What is the major cause of it all? When did it start and the way it is now? And to what extent can we do? What can we really do to ensure that we wrestle this insecurity in Africa to a standstill? As we speak now, it is on record that numbers of people dying every day, and of course, amounts of lives and properties being destroyed every day. Almost through the nook and cranny of Africa, that's where you hear the story. And of course, Nigeria is also having its own fair share of the whole insecurity issue. We hear of Boko Haram insurgency in the north. And also we hear of armed banditry in parts of Nigeria. Then of course, if you come down to South Nigeria, Southeast Nigeria, Southwest Nigeria, if not all major parts of Nigeria, then of course you hear of kidnapping in the country. So all this culminates into the big issue that we're going to be talking about today, talking about Africa's insecurity surge, and how do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Well, some experts have seen it in the other way around. That's one sure way that we can actually wrestle insecurity is to begin to look at the traditional institution. And that's the reason why that we're going to talk along that line today on the program Africa Discourse. And we are so privileged this afternoon to have a foremost traditional security analyst with us, join us virtually all the way from Okbila. That's in Edo State here, to be precise. Talking about Okbila now, that is in Etako East local government area of Edo State. I'm talking about Engineer Lukman Akemokwe. Engineer, good afternoon, and nice to have you on the program African Discourse.
Yeah, good afternoon, Evans. Glad to have you here.
All right, so like what we are trying to posit here, that the issue of insecurity on the continent of Africa as it stands now, it's very, very alarming. As a matter of fact, if you're one of those that has been following the trajectory, you will notice that it's almost a story of one but too many on our news platforms, even on our social platforms and all that. Now, from your own understanding, what do you think is the sole cause, or it is the root cause of insecurity in Africa?
Well, thank you, Evers. The insecurity issue across the entire Africa is something that is now prevalent and endemic and is now entrenched. That is the way to look at it. Well, some school of thoughts view it from the perspective of a resource course, where natural resources that are supposed to provide succor, development, human capital development, economic development, infrastructural development, so the people have now become a course, because there are both external influences, there are internal influences, both which have conspired to birth struggles, armed struggles among various groups, struggles against the governments of the day, and all sorts of issues across the entire African landscape. Now, the way I have looked at it very critically is that over the times, it has always been attributed to bad governance, where those who are trusted with our security, those who are trusted with our resources to manage it on our behalf so that we can go and sleep, so that we can have good livelihood, are no longer able to do so, either because of their incapacity or because of their unwillingness or because of their greed, or a combination of all of the above. Now, that has been managed over time because bad leadership was being seen as something that will get better because there is a hope that, the next government may be better. But when the essence of governance, the essence of government at all, is security of lives and property. We are not talking about responsibility of government. No, the reason why government is formed is to have security of lives and properties. So when that reason for formation of government is being called to question, and the government is now incapable of living up to that expectation, people will begin to expand the conversation from questioning whether those in government are able to govern them well, and extend it to whether the form of government that we are practicing, whether it is the solution or whether we should look at alternatives. This is where the fear is. As we speak today, Nigeria has, in the Fourth Republic, we have practiced democracy for upward of more than 20-something years now. A lot of issues that have been with us for the past 100 years, we have not been able to resolve them. And we say we have embraced democracy. When Obasanjo came to government, we had the issue of this Boko Haram, and we thought that being as non-stated, as undesirable as that phenomenon is in our life, we've expected that the government will be able to tackle it. But Boko Haram outlived Obasanjo's government. And when we now had Yar'Adua's government, we saw it came up again, and it outlived Yar'Adua's government. It outlived Jonathan's government, outlived when we now had a military general to be at the helm of affairs for 8 years, it outlived the government. Today, we now have another government of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Boko Haram resurgence is now escalating. Not only is Boko Haram escalating, there are other variants of criminal activities going on around the country. If you go to Northwest now, we have banditry. You go to North Central, massive killings, genocides. Come to South, Edo, Delta, and other states, Southeast, kidnappings, all sorts of violent crimes across the entire country. Now, the conversation, the horizon of discourse has now moved from whether the leaders can govern well to whether the democracy in itself is able to resolve these internal contradictions of governments. Now, this is where the fear is. What has happened within the country in Nigeria has become what we call endogamic issues. That is, issues within the frontiers of the country. Right now, exogenic factors, which are external factors, have now come in, where comparison between the type of government we are practicing with others is now being the focus. Now, the issue we have at hand now is the issue I call the Captain Ibrahim Traore welweight. I'm writing a memo on that to the National Security Advisor on a national security discourse, where I am pointing out a lot of very critical issues, fears, because in Hausa language, there is an Hausa adage that says that when you see the beards, the beards of your neighbor catches fire, you have to put water on your own. Now, there is a kind of escalation of another form of government which is the military takeover, going across West Africa. And it seems that the Traore, the Traore effect is answering these questions, the insurgency question, the terrorism question, Islamic jihadi questions that has bedeviled Burkina Faso over years, seems to be giving in to the military government of Traore.
Okay, let me pause you. I'll pause you there. I think at this juncture, we have to be careful, because the reason why we're saying this now, in as much as we are trying to admire the Traore's model, in which he has is using to wrestle insecurity in Burkina Faso, we also need to be very careful, because so that it won't look as if we are trying to encourage a military junta into the political space or into governance space in Africa. Now, you have said a while ago that there are different ways, different approach to kind of use to understand what is going on security-wise in Africa. Maybe if you look at it inwardly, you may see it as weak institutions, weak states, weak governance, poverty, and all that. And of course, if you stretch it further to look at it externally, you may look at it that there are still the European infiltration into our political space, because it's been on record that these weapons that these insurgents use, highly sophisticated, they are not made in Africa. They are being imported into the continent of Africa by some of these Western powers, European powers, and all that. And that's why people say that the security in Africa has external, external branch into it. Now, in all of this, where can we really start from, so that we can really nip it on the board?
Thank you. Before you stopped me, actually, democracy, to me, still remains the best form of government. What I'm just telling you is an organic thought. It is not something you and I can prevent. Because when you keep repeating, they say that it's only a fool that keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. It is organic, it's inherent in human thinking. That, oh, I have been trying this, I have tried this variant of this thing, I've tried this variant of this thing, but it doesn't seem to be working. What else should I do? From 1999 to date, it is democracy. We have not had any military interregnum. It is democracy we'll be practicing. Are we getting any better? Even though, from my understanding, we can the military takeover is not an option, but I can tell you that inherent of nature to try other options when the existing one seems not to be given whatever modifications you have given to it. This is the fear, and that is why you see many people are looking the other way. And if I'm to also interrogate the issue of external factors like the Europeans and others, that also exacerbates the issue, because this same democracy was copied from the West. How come that the West, who we copied, who colonized us and bequeathed a form of governance to us, which is democracy, are now the same people that are being suspected of funding this insurgency? Now, the question a rational mind is going to ask immediately is that you gave us democracy, and you have now given us a problem that the democracy is not able to resolve. Since we are studying the Traore issue very quietly in order to be able to give advice if my advice is sought, like I said earlier, there's a memo I'm writing to the office of the NSA now. They found me because they have seen my conversations, maybe on Facebook and others. So my name was given to them, and I received a letter from the NSA office that I should give my input. And these things I'm saying here are the things I'm writing. Now, look, we need to interrogate these things. We need to ask ourselves, if the Europeans, the Americans that gave us democracy are the same people that are funding insurgents, because as it is now, it is very clear that the insurgents in our country, in West Africa, has a lot of external factors, the arms and every other thing. If you look at what Traore is saying, I'm not sure that he's saying the wrong thing, that most of these insurgent jihadis are being funded in order to destabilize the government of Burkina Faso. We have intelligence that shows that Boko Haram are connected with foreign organizations from the West. We have intelligence that have also connected this banditry in the Northwest to these European countries. And we are still saying that the governance they gave to us is what we are going to. So we have to really interrogate this thing very carefully. But in doing that, like I said earlier, if fire enter your friend, baby, water for your own. The question we must quickly answer is, what do we do to ensure that these extenuating factors coming from Burkina Faso, which has now landed at Ivory Coast of recent, will not find expression and likeness among the populace? Let me tell you, government's legitimacy is based on the people. When people are dissatisfied with the form of government, there's nothing you can do about it. A military man cannot take over government if he feels that there will be resistance. So if you allow the Traoré effect to be loved and embraced by a majority of Nigerians, you are only providing a fertile ground for a military takeover. And this is what we must quickly interrogate and prevent.
Yeah,
so we must tell our
Engineer Lukman,
okay, and then continue to have the problem. So the foundation of what we must do is that what is it that is causing dissatisfaction to democracy in Nigeria? What is it that is making people admire what Traoré is doing in Burkina Faso? Are there things, quick wins, that we can easily reverse in our country to ensure that people now begin to see that, of course, democracy can resolve these democratic contradictions that we found in ourselves? What are those things we can do? Okay. I also agree that the traditional institutions have a very critical role to play on this. Okay. If that is what you have asked me to interrogate, maybe in your next question, I'm going to really tell you, because I think it's about 2 pages, I've actually critiqued the impact of traditional institutions on national security. Okay. About 2-3 pages what I've written on it.
Beautiful. Now, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that there's no way we're not going to talk about the Traoré model when we'll talk about fixing insecurity challenges in Africa, because all over the world now, it is on national discourse that, hey, that young guy in Burkina Faso is really doing the needful. And as a matter of fact, it was only about 2 weeks ago that we saw how, on just a single attempt, how Ibrahim Traoré killed almost about 1,000+ Boko Haram insurgents in Burkina Faso. And we understand that it was also with the collaboration of traditional institutions in Burkina Faso. Now, the question that we ask, in as much as we are trying to let people know that we have to be very careful, in as much as we admire Burkina Faso's model, Traoré's model, we cannot encourage it because that is already military. But let's look at it now. What do you think Ibrahim Traoré is doing differently that our leaders probably need to learn from in Nigeria, per se?
My brother, I was on this stool of Okukulagbe for 7 months, and I was overwhelmed by the reactions of the government, of the people, towards trust and honesty. When people trust that whatever decisions you are taking on their behalf is for their own good, you will see good followership. If you see what is happening in Burkina Faso, is that the populace, more than 99% of the population of Burkina Faso, trust that Ibrahim Traoré is acting in their best interest, especially breaking away from the stranglehold of the Europeans. So that is making him popular, and that is creating the legitimacy that he needs to govern the people. Is that the same thing with our democratic institutions here? No. Is it a democratic institution that we cannot even hold free and fair elections? That people's trust, people's votes no longer count? Is it a democratic institution that our judiciary, which is the hope of the common man, has been bastardized? Is it a democratic institution where laws are observed in the breach than in conveyance? So these are the elements of trust that are broken by our people. Democracy is a beautiful thing, but the articles, the ingredients that cook this, that combine and conspire to cook the sweetness, the deliciousness of the soup of democracy must be observed, not in the breach. Now, you tell people to come and vote, and people move out to come and vote. Their vote does not count. When people have an issue, they rush to the court, and only to find out that the justice is no longer in the court. And these are the critical ingredients of democracy. Now, if we want to avoid a situation where Nigerians will begin to question whether democracy in itself is sufficient to interrogate or resolve our internal contradictions, we must, as a necessity, be able to ensure rule of law. We must be able to create people's confidence in the judiciary. We must be able to reform our electoral process where people believe that their vote counts. These are the foundation of democracy. If we want the people to be discouraged from looking at the Traoré option. Now, if you now move to what are the benefits of democracy, what are the things, what is the reason why people should embrace it? Is governance. Government is people surrendering their rights to a group of people, conscientiously believing that those people will act on their behalf. Now, the number one thing that is required of any government is protection of lives and properties. Now, the democracy you are practicing can no longer protect lives and properties. Now, how do we now restore the people's confidence in the security of in democracy? The first thing, as the reason why democracy or government is allowed, is to resolve that problem, which is the issue of security of lives and properties. If you don't resolve people, like in my place, in the entire Edo State, how many people go to farm? People can no longer go to farm because you know if you go to farm, you will be kidnapped for a ransom, you might even be killed. How do you now tell such a person who cannot go to farm and the only means of livelihood is farming? The only means he can pay children's school fees is farming. He can no longer pay children's school fees, he cannot pay his house rent, he cannot feed, he is not secured. Then you keep telling the person that he should not admire what is happening in Burkina Faso. It's quite difficult. So like I said, the first attack, the first thing the government should do quickly is to first of all have a conversation and see whatever it can to ensure that people's confidence on the judiciary is restored. That's number one. Okay. Then number two, we need to also let the people have enough confidence on the electoral system. Then number three, the security angle of it. I have made a lot of prescriptions, the quick wins. What are the quick things the government can quickly do to resolve these security issues? For instance, like I usually said, if President Tinubu comes out on air today and read a riot act to the governors and tell all the military formations, all the security formations in his states to take orders from the governors. And for instance, in this state today, look at what the wonderful thing His Excellency Okpebolo is doing. He read the riot act on courtism. Well, did you hear that they are killing each other again? When he has proclaimed, a law has been written that if anybody does anything, they go to your house and demolish it. Did you hear for the past how many days courtists are fighting again? No. If in the same vein, Tinubu is able to read the riot act to the governors and read the riot act to the chief of army staff, to the inspector general of police, the DSS, all of them, that all the military security formations in every state should defer to the governor for the purpose of restoring national security.
Now,
then the governor.
Yeah, you talk about
today.
Engineer, look, you're talking about reading out a riot act. Now, what is the difference between giving a marching order? Because we have seen a couple of times whereby His Excellency, the head of state of the country, talking about Ahmed Bola Tinubu, giving a marching order to security architecture, security heads in this country to make sure that they wrestle down insecurity in the country. So what is the difference between reading out a riot act and giving a marching order?
There is a big difference between reading out a riot act at the central level. This power has to be devolved. Let's assume the president calls a meeting of the 36 state governors today, and I say, I can no longer take the issues of kidnapping or violent crimes in your states. those people are going to complain. But whenever we talk to IG, the Commissioner of Police, the Brigade Commander, the DSS Director, they will always want to take orders from Abuja. And the President, as they are sitting down, the DG, DSS, the Chief of Army Staff, all of them, they are there. And they tell them that all the security formations in each state should defer to the governor. Do you know the implication of His Excellency, Governor Pebolo, calling a Security Council meeting in Edo State after the President has directed that all of them should defer to him, and tell them that I don't want to hear any issue of kidnapping in the state. All the bushes, cobalt the bushes, flush out all these criminals in our bushes. I don't want to hear, if I hear any issue of kidnapping, any issue of violent crime in my state again, I'm going to tell the President that you will be sacked. Whatever the logistic requirement they need, the governor will release. After all, they have security votes. Then the governor will now call the local government chairman, read the Riot Act, and ensure that all the security formations in those local governments are told to cooperate with the local government chairman.
Okay, let me pause you. I'll pause you here now because we need to quickly take this short break at this time. And don't forget, our viewers out there, that the program is African Discourse on Independent Television. And we are looking at the insecurity issues in Africa with our special guest this afternoon, Engineer Luke Kemokwe. So we'll be right back. Please stay tuned. All right, thank you so much, the viewer out there. The program is still African Discourse on Independent Television, and we are looking at security issues on the continent of Africa, and of course, the role that traditional institutions can play in order that we can return Africa back to respite, back to the good old days that you and I once knew. And on set this afternoon, we are so privileged to have Engineer Luke Kemokwe, a security analyst, a traditional security analyst, join us virtually all the way from Okbila in Edo State here. Now, Engineer Luke, now you were trying to look at the difference between a marching order and reading out a Riot Act. So you may continue now.
Now, the difference is that the types of marching orders, there are two types in the security architecture. We have the horizontal, we have the vertical. The one that we have experienced over time is the horizontal, where the President gives marching orders to the service chiefs who are within the federal government. The vertical marching orders, which is I call the Riot Act, should be the one given to the governors who are the chief security officers of their various states. Now, the governors, in return, we call the local government chairman and the traditional institutions. I can tell you for free, like I said, the little time I spent on the stool of my throne, I understand very well that if a traditional ruler is assisted, is given powers by the government, he will rid his own community of insecurity. I can tell you that. Because the information about everybody in his domain, he knows. And all the people causing problems in his domain, he knows. All the people who hold guns illegally, he knows them. The bad guys, he knows them. When new guys come, when the external threats come, they first of all link up with the bad guys in the community. That is what happens. There is no way a herdsman from Kanu can just come into Okwila, for instance, and begin to commit crimes. What he will do first is to connect with the bad guys who are of Okwila origin, and they begin to form a very terrible cabal, and they will be perpetrating crimes. Every traditional ruler knows that connectivity. And all we are asking is, let the governor call all the traditional rulers to the roundtable meeting, call all the local council chairmen to the roundtable meeting, and first and foremost, devolve those powers to the chairman and traditional rulers, the DPOs, the army formations working in their domain, that they should cooperate with them. If it is 1 a.m., the traditional ruler calls you as a DPO that there is an issue, get the person arrested. If traditional ruler gives you information about a criminal in his domain, don't politicize it. You get the person, investigate diligently, and ensure the person faces the law. So when a traditional ruler is known in a domain that he does not tolerate crime, that he is ready, even if it is son or his daughter or his brother that is involved in criminality, he has capacity to give him out to security agencies to face justice. You will see that all this insecurity in our villages and communities will be addressed. So the
Okay.
governor, as the president gives read the Riot Act to the governor read Riot Act to the council chairman and the traditional institutions, and tell the security agencies to now cooperate with them. I can tell you for sure that that's primary reason for formation of government, which is protection of lives and property, can easily be addressed with this formula. Because if you don't address it, as I keep saying, I have drawn, I am so, I just hope that the NSA will not look for me, because I made it very clear that if we don't do this, if we don't take the issue of security of lives very seriously, within the next 6 months, 99% of Nigerians will be desirous of the Traore effect. And once that is their mindset, that this is the only solution to their problem, your legitimacy of democracy, in the name of democracy, will no longer hold them.
Okay.
And that
all right. So, all right, Angela, look, let me cut in now.
Strike and there is a general happiness everywhere. What will you do?
All right, so let me cut in now. In as much as I need to re-emphasize this one more time, that we are not calling for the Traore's, saga in Burkina Faso. I mean, encouraging the military to take over.
We are deceiving ourselves. We are not calling for it, but
but let us get it straight, Engineer Luke. Now, a while ago,
Nigerians want democracy.
Engineer Luke.
Nigerians want democracy. It is the extenuating factor that is giving them, 1,000 Boko Haram killed in a day by a military man. But here in Nigeria, you are calling it democracy. The same Boko Haram are hosting flags in various parts of the country.
Now, you said that you have written to the National Security Advisor in Nigeria, and I want to suggest that you made...
saying here now that you are stopping me from saying, I mentioned it there. I told them that it's just a matter of months. If this issue of insecurity persists in this country, I told them they can no longer hold Nigerians.
Yeah, but I need to ask my question. Engineer Luke, I need to ask this question now. Now, what we are saying, Engineer Luke, what we're saying is that you said you have written to the National Security Advisor of Nigeria. Now, there are allegations that insecurity, or security, if you like, that in Africa is highly politicized. And that's the reason why it seems that we are not getting to the roots of it all, on the continent of Africa. Now, the National Security Advisor that you have written to, that you have suggested to, is a political appointment. I mean, he's there on political strength. Now, don't you think that there's going to be that tendency for the National Security Advisor to do the bidding of his political, of his political leader, so to say? Because that seems to be the problem in Africa.
I started with a proverb. An Hausa proverb say, if fire catch your friend, put water for your own. You cannot be so political that to face existential threats. If very straight memos from us, because they requested for the memos, I just opened my email and I saw it from the National Security Advisor. They need my input. If I raise this type of threats, honest threats, that these are the issues that you should look for all these young boys that are being harassed by police everywhere. Go outside, take a sample of 100 boys. They will tell you that Traore is their hero. And that is a dangerous cascade. Now, if you say because of politics, you cannot shoot yourself because of politics. You know that if you don't address this issue, the Traore effect is already gaining ground among Nigerians. If the military strike, who is going to leave power? Is you. Is the president that's going there will be the first victim. So the president cannot say because of power, preside over a system and preside over his own extinction. So this is the issue. So we are at a crossroad. I can tell you that as any attempt at any military coup in any West African country, it set jitters in the heart of others who stood once. And what I keep saying is that they have no option. The way it is now, they have no option. We cannot start hearing two comparison. Captain Traore killed 1,000 Boko Haram. Boko Haram take over Borno State government. Terrorists attack Plateau and Benue states. The people there who are now refugees, who are now in IDP camps, they are watching television, they have internet, and they hear, oh, these people killing us here, there is a young man in Burkina Faso that is already dealing with them there. So the question is, what are we doing with this democracy? Once that is the general consensus of Nigeria, staying in Aso Rock, you are just wasting your time.
Anyway, let's come off that now, Engineer Luke. Now, let's look at, Engineer Luke,
the plurality of our...
Yeah, Angela, look, try to listen to me. Try to listen to me so that we take this conversation, make it more interesting now. Now, the question I'm asking is, what do you think is the role of traditional institutions? I mean, you said a while ago that during the short stewardship as the Okokpila of Okpila, you did so many things security-wise and all that. Because what seems to be happening now is the allegation that traditional institutions in Africa, most especially in Nigeria, so to say, seems not to be collaborating with the government of the day. Now, in Burkina Faso, that we keep on making reference to, it took the efforts of traditional heads in Burkina Faso to liaise with the military junta, and of course, hence we have that amount of 1,000 Boko Haram just on a single day being killed in Burkina Faso. So my question is, what do you think are the roles, or should be the roles, of traditional institutions in Nigeria and also in Africa to wrestle down insecurity?
One of the things is that there must be a constitutional recognition for the traditional institutions. Democracy that has been practiced in this country today has relegated the traditional institutions from relevance. But do you notice that anytime there is a military takeover, the first people they meet are the traditional rulers? Because they understand that these are the people who live with the grassroots. Now, the role of traditional institutions is to mobilize the citizenry, the communities, to mobilize their subjects in support of the government programs, to give intelligence, live intelligence to the government and the security agencies. These are their key roles. Before this, we were having this conversation at the national level with the President Director General, National Council of Traditional Rulers, the Tsunupe from Niger State. He's a very good friend. We had these conversations in various occasions, and he was like marveled that, this young man, you seem to have a grasp of these things. I will work with you. But let me tell you, the ideas I was proposing, there is a traditional National Council of Traditional Rulers bill we are proposing. I have made a lot of inputs through the man into that bill. We have enriched it, how the structure of the traditional institutions can be structured in such a way that even though they will be under the control of the state government, but they must have a constitutional role at the level of the federal government so that their role can be appreciated. If the security institutions in the various communities where this traditional ruler holds sway, there is a constitutional amendment that allows the traditional ruler to have power to direct them to do what they need to do, to recommend whether they are doing it right before they are even promoted. I can tell you, if the police, the army, and the traditional rulers are working in synergy in the various communities, the results will marvel you. This is some of the conversation we were having at the national level. Myself, some emirs led by the Director General National Council of Traditional Rulers, the Tsunupe. So we have there are so many gray areas that we are not looking at. So there must be a constitutional amendment to incorporate traditional institutions into our national life consciousness. And also, at the level of the state, there must be constitutional roles given to them and some powers given to them to preside over the affairs of the security agencies within their domain. The vigilante, which is supposed to be under their control, has now been taken over by the government and now be politicized. But the vigilante are supposed to be at the exclusive reserve of the traditional rulers. But today, they are now being taken over by the state government. And where a traditional ruler will no longer have a strong say on the traditional institution, talk less of the police. The conversation we are having is that every community, if you have a DPO, where you have a policeman, you have an army formation in your place. If it is not in your community, the nearest community, there's an army formation there. You liaise with the traditional ruler, who is the landlord in that place. Then those army formations, the police, the DSS that are within that environment, to create a synergy. And the traditional ruler must be provided with constitutional powers to have what to say in the security and on how security is being conducted in those areas. So if that is done, I can tell you, Evans, that the foundation of insecurity in this country must have been interrogated and the necessary solutions provided. This is where we are. Okay. And as I keep saying, until this is done, until security is done from bottom-up approach, where traditional rulers, local government chairman, the governor, down to the president, work in synergy to root out these malairs, these contradictions of insecurity from our life, we are going nowhere.
All right,
and
now
as I tell you,
yeah, we need to get it straight, because I remember when the local vigilante security network started in Nigeria. Like, for example, in the Edo Central, we had the Atalakba. Then, of course, in some states in the west, in Ondo, we had Amotekun. Even in Edo State, we also had a similar formation. Now, are we saying, because I remember when it started, it was more of a local traditional setup. So are we saying that the state governments in some of these states and in some countries in Africa now, the state government, federal government has taken over at the expense of the security, at the expense of the people? Is that what we're saying?
Yes, there's so much interference now. Like the traditional vigilante hunters we used to have, it is a bottom-up approach where a traditional ruler, the various villages are communities that constitute your clan or your kingdom. You tell the residents of those places to bring out people they can trust. Because security, the foundation of security is trust between the security provider and the people you are providing, the beneficiaries. If that trust is gone, you have no security. Now, a traditional ruler, for instance, like in Okwila, for instance, if you ask me to bring out a local security in Okwila, I have about 100 and something villages in my domain. I will call all the village heads. The village heads have what we call the Daudus and the elders in those areas.
Yeah, look, before we continue, we'll quickly take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. All right, thank you one more time, and many thanks for joining us. Now, as we commence this sense, we still have Engineer Luke Akemokwe there, joining us virtually all the way from Okmila. Now, Engineer Luke, we need to close it up now with this last part. You were trying to look at local vigilante formations, and you were mentioning the one that you had in Okmila. So you may continue.
Like in my place, if I have like 120 villages, and these villages are headed by what we call village heads. And these village heads have what we call Daudus, who help them to administer their various villages. Now, if the governor call a traditional ruler, for instance, what do we do to resolve the internal security issues in your place? The first thing is the local vigilante. That traditional ruler is going to call all these village heads and tell them who are the trusted gallant men, hunters in your various communities, your various villages. Can you make them available? You will now see that it is those people. Every village has a trusted person, a hunter who is known. Some of them believe that he has some esoteric powers. He has juju. He's serving the deity of the village. Because of that, you can never mortgage the interest of people. So the people have trust in these guys. So all these village heads and Daudus, we sit down and nominate these hunters, courageous persons, trustworthy persons, and bring them into a pool. By the time I have such persons, let's say I have such number of people across and I put them together. If the governor says, the traditional ruler, I need a vigilante in this place, obviously, these are the people I will give to the governor. I say, okay, please, if you work with these people, my people are going to trust them. They will share intelligence. They will share information with them. These guys, from the intelligence they are gathering from their various villages, they will now work with the DPO and the DSS so that they can have online, on-time information of criminals. When criminals know that no sooner has he committed a crime than the information is gotten through these channels to the security agencies and you'll be apprehended, they will never involve in criminality. They will leave that environment. This is the way it works. But the situation we have now is a situation where the states will tell people to go and apply online. They are going to recruit. What information, what intelligence do you have about this person you are recruiting? How have you carried the traditional institutions along? Most of these guys you are recruiting are criminals in their various communities. Have you allowed the traditional rulers to vet them? To say, oh, this person, we know him, is a thief, is a kidnapper, is a this. If you use this top-down approach, you end up getting the people you are going to get into the security system are the criminals. And when you hand over the security of communities to criminals, known criminals, the trust is already broken. Because you don't expect a villager to give information to a criminal to go and give the police. His life will be at stake. It is only the people, the persons, the people trust, who they nominated by themselves, that can work with the security agencies and erase this issue of insecurity from our life. This is how it should work. So this top-down approach of an office in Benin, recruiting vigilantes, politicizing it, I'm not sure. You shouldn't politicize security.
Okay.
You politicize it.
I'm happy with the amounts of information and, of course, the knowledge that you have about keeping our society, keeping Nigeria secure. Now, good enough. You said you're already speaking with the National Security Advisor. Now, in the light of all this now, are you speaking with him, you know, with this information?
Yes, yes. The memo I'm writing, like I told you, there's about 3 or 4 pages dedicated to bottom-up approach, the role of traditional institutions, the role of local vigilantes in securing communities. Is beautiful. Some of the excerpt is what I'm telling you here. It's very well detailed. I did a study of about 11 communities across Edo State, my own inclusive. Even the Atanakpa, I did a very holistic study of it. I went to various communities. I discussed with my colleagues and I tried to find out. There is a general consensus that what I'm telling you here, that if the vigilantes are generated from the people and they liaise with the security agencies, that it is more effective than this top-down approach. It's a general consensus. And I gave a lot of instances, and the successes I recorded in the 7 months I was on the stool, the successes I recorded, I documented them. They could liaise with DSS, they could liaise with the Nigeria police, even at the state CID, where I brought a lot of criminals and they are already in remand, facing prosecutions. So these are the things that the traditional rulers can do. I have documented it and I'm going to pass it across, I think, before the end of next week. Okay. I should be able to set it up. And I'm sure if some of these prescriptions, and I know there are other prescriptions across boards, if some of these prescriptions are utilized, we may be able to stem away this trial. It is now an existential threat. It's no longer a favor that the National Security Advisor will do to the people. It is the interest of the government to secure the lives of people. Otherwise, the Traore effect will continue to look attractive.
I want to thank you for the level and, of course, the wealth of experience and knowledge that you have shared with us on this program today. Now, one big thing that you have said on this, program is that the local vigilante, because if you look at what happened in Burkina Faso, I mean, it started from the local way of handling it. I mean, it started from the people, and of course, it started from the grassroots. So, in true words, one sure way we can actually use to wrestle insecurity in Africa is let it start from the grassroots, and definitely we will get there. And I'm happy you said it that the constitution of the local vigilante should be from the people, not this top-down approach that state governments across states in Africa, countries in Africa seems to be imbibing. I want to say a very big thank you to you, Engineer Luke Akemukwe, and of course we pray that when we call you again on similar issues, you'll be willing to oblige us of your wealth of knowledge. Engineer Luke.
Thank you, Evans.
Okay.
Thank you. It's
all right, so that's the program today on ITV, and many thanks for joining us. You out there that took the time to watch the program, I want to say many thanks to you. Until the same time next week on this same program, African Discourse, my name is Evan Sunokogie. Goodbye and God bless you.